Hello, welcome back. I hope that you're doing okay. Now, I thought it was about time I brought you an update video on how we've been getting on with growing our various fruit and vegetables indoors, and a couple of little patio projects that we've got as well, because I made lots of videos telling you all about how we were going about it, and various progress videos along the way. So now it's harvest time, I guess. So I'll show you the fruits of our labour. Also, I'd absolutely love to hear how you're getting on if you've been trying to grow fruit and vegetables indoors this year as well, because it's quite a challenge. I'll certainly say that. But if you've had some successes, please share them below, or even your disappointments as well. I'd love to hear about it, and also any tips you've got for other people that are trying to do the same, because I'm really happy to know I've inspired a few people this year. I've been really grateful to receive all the comments via Facebook and Messenger and so on, of all the people that have tried it for the first time this year too. And it's been really nice, I think, during that lockdown period to have something to nurture. It definitely kept us going for a little bit, especially when the weather wasn't so great. We couldn't get outside so much. It was really nice every day to have that hope, I suppose, is what it's all about really, isn't it? So I guess I'll start with the positive news, and just to mention as well, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you some hopefully quite inspiring things that are going on around indoor fruit and veg growing, because it's about to get a whole lot easier. And I think genuinely the future is that we are all going to be growing fruit and vegetables indoors sometime soon, very successfully, minimal effort. It's pretty amazing, but I'll tell you about that at the end. And also don't get too excited yet, because at the moment it's quite an expensive option, but like everything with technology, I'm sure it'll come down in price. So yeah, stick around. But first of all, I'm going to tell you about our tomatoes, because I think that's the thing that we've put the most time and effort into in terms of our indoor growing. So our tomatoes have been a complete indoor project. And just to recap, if you've not seen any of my previous videos, or perhaps can't remember exactly what we did, we at the time we started growing the tomatoes, we couldn't get our hands on any seeds. So we decided to use shop-bought tomatoes and take the seeds from those. We had some really delicious sweet cherry tomatoes, which are a better option anyway for growing indoors. So we took them and we planted the seeds from those into some fruit containers. So we had an old strawberry container and an old grape container and some compost, put those in and managed to get them going, getting those seedlings going really quickly on our windowsill, because it's a south-facing house. We're lucky enough to have that, and also because it suddenly became really warm and sunny straight away. So we were very blessed from that perspective. So it was exciting because we had kind of instant success. And then we transplanted those tomato seeds into some bigger pots, and we had 3 pots on our window. Ran a bit of an experiment, as regular viewers will know, where we decided to prune one plant completely, semi-prune the other plant, and not prune the other plant at all, because we just wanted to see what happened. What actually happened is the plant that we pruned grew bigger tomatoes more quickly, which is what the kind of research would suggest would happen, so it did. What happened with the plants that we didn't prune is we started to get a little bit of like leaf rot, and that started to spread around the plants a bit. So we then decided halfway through to completely prune all of them, because we were worried about losing those crops. So a lesson learned for the future is that definitely with indoor tomato growing, I think it's worth pruning them, because it's quite easy for them to get those kind of moist conditions and for that to start growing and spreading around the plant. So definitely a lesson learned there. So here's a little sample of our crop. We've eaten quite a few tomatoes already, so I suddenly realised that's all I've got to show you today. We did also go on holiday, and we had someone coming in. My uncle came in to water the tomatoes while we were away. He wasn't able to come in every day, and it was quite hot during that period, so I think they could have had a little bit more water, so that the leaves did basically end up wilting quite a bit, but the plants are still giving. The tomatoes are still growing, they're still ripening, so I don't feel like we've lost too much from them. They just don't look in great nick now. But yeah, really happy with them. The only thing is the skins are slightly tough on them, so that's my only criticism. They're still edible. My son actually picks them straight off and eats them. He's 5, so he's not complaining, so they can't be that tough. But compared to the original tomatoes, that's perhaps the main difference. But they're still really sweet and really tasty, and the fact that they came from, we didn't have to invest in anything. It was something we already had, was brilliant. So really happy about that. One other lesson we've learnt about growing them indoors, and in general, I suppose, is they would definitely have benefited from bigger pots, I think. It felt like the root system was a bit limited in the size pots that we've got. Now, whether or not you can do anything about this indoors is tricky, isn't it? Because you don't want your whole... there was quite a bit of time where I felt they were quite dominant anyway in the room, and they were quite dominant on the windowsill, and they started to sometimes get on my nerves a little bit sometimes. I was having to actually dust around them, and there were cobwebs and things forming in between them. So they're quite a big commitment to have in your indoor space. So how big you want to go with those pots, I don't know. If you've got somewhere where you can put the pot on the floor in a window, great, that might work better. I mean, things like buckets, big buckets work really well. So you've got to be realistic about what you can do. You obviously don't want to take over your whole space growing things necessarily. Maybe you do, but I guess a lot of people don't. So there's room for improvement in the future there. I probably would try something slightly bigger next time, because I just think we better get a better crop. And although I'm really happy with what we've done in terms of using the tomatoes, the shop bought tomatoes, I think you're generally going to get a better crop if you do your research and get the best seeds possible for your area and your growing conditions, which of course are always variable from one year to another anyway, but doing a little bit of research can help. Which brings me on to our peppers. So we did the same thing with some shop bought peppers. Now, I was aware that these might not work out as well, and my 5-year-old son during this period just went absolutely mad on trying to plant and grow every single seed that he could get his hands on. So it was melons, watermelon, everything, and it was really fun for him. He really enjoyed it. I didn't want to stop him. The peppers was one of those, and we tried those, but generally shop bought peppers aren't going to grow that well. I have seen people have success with them, so I thought it was worth a try. But ours, they got about this big, the plants, and then they just started to wilt and they didn't really do anything. However, we did then start growing a pepper on our windowsill using a proper legitimate pepper seed for growing, and we've got this far. As you can see, it's wilted a bit because of the extreme heat this week, giving it lots of water, trying to revive it a bit. But we've got this nice, reasonable looking pepper actually, given the size of the pot, because again, I think this could do with a slightly bigger pot and a bit more compost in here really. So that's given us hope that we can grow peppers successfully indoors on our windowsill. So yeah, we've definitely learnt lessons there for next year. Not going to bother planting any seeds from shop bought peppers again. Other things my son has done, which he then planted, he's got a little kind of scrappy patch in the garden, because our garden isn't really finished and ready for doing much in, but he was desperate to experiment with all of these things. And his patch has actually done really, really well. So a mixture of shop bought seeds and other things, but he's got some tomatoes growing out there as well. He's got some corn on the cob. He's got an incredible pumpkin that just appeared. We were away on holiday for about 11 days and we came back and just saw this huge pumpkin that wasn't there when we went away. There was just a flower. So that grew really quickly. And for him, I think that's, to see those results as a young kid is really, really exciting. So he's totally inspired to do more gardening now. And we're really, really happy about that. The other thing I wanted to update you on, which we grew out on our patio, was our shopping bag potatoes. So we just got some of those carrier bags, the reusable bags, Sainsbury's kind of bags, and we got potatoes I got from Amazon, I think, in the end. So the proper growing potatoes, I wouldn't risk trying to grow the sprouting shop bought potatoes, because for all sorts of reasons they're not very good and possibly even a little bit dangerous. So we went for the real deal with those. We've got a pretty reasonable crop. We've eaten lots already and they're really delicious. The only thing with that is that I found that the soil had got quite compacted, I think perhaps from some of the heavy rain that we had. And so the root systems didn't go as far as they could have done. So we didn't have as big a crop as we have done in the past when we've grown potatoes. So I think maybe the key lesson there is that you just really get that nice and soft when you plant them, and make sure that if you're in the best position possible when you start growing them, then they're not going to, hopefully it's not going to get too compact and limit that growth. The really good thing about the potatoes was they were very, very minimal effort. So other than just building up the soil when they first started to shoot, we didn't have to do much else other than water them. So they were a delightful crop from that point of view, because you get tons of meals out of them. Everyone loves them, the kids love them. And we would definitely do those again. The shopping bag, one of the shopping bags has now split, so we won't be able to reuse that next year for it. So I'm sure that the actual designed grow bags are more resilient. So invest in some of those for next year if you can. But of course, we were just working with what we had available during the lockdown period. So that's an overview of our successes and failures this year. As I said, please do share yours below. But the thing that I've come across that I'm most excited about is that there's now these smart growing systems for indoors. So I was looking a little bit into, I've got one of those grow lights, and I was looking at what we could do with that indoors. But the next step up from that is these smart systems that are just coming onto the market. And they basically will automatically be able to, with sensors, be able to tell when your plants need watering, when they need feeding, keep them at the optimum temperature. They're so clever, and you can grow a whole range of different produce in them. and they can just sit in your kitchen. So I think in future they're going to become a part of all of our kitchens. The only catch at the moment is they're pretty expensive. So I found a really nice looking one. It was an American system, but it was about $200 to buy initially. And then like everything now, they're doing it as a kind of service offering. So you then get, they're a bit like the kind of coffee pod systems. So you then get seed pods every month. And I think it was about $8 a month to then get your delivery of seed pods. You select which ones you want. They get sent to you, and then you obviously just keep growing what you need. Compare that to what you'd spend in the supermarket, I'm not really sure. I guess you'd expect this system to run for several years, so eventually you're probably going to be doing all right out of it. But I think from the point of view of wanting to be self-sufficient, yet still having to rely on a kind of monthly order, for me it doesn't quite work. But like with everything, I'm sure better systems will come on the market, and I'm sure it will become less expensive as time goes on. And it just goes to show that you can do that technology is so clever now that you can have a small space in your house that is dedicated to growing. And rather than have all those variables that we've been working with this year, like the sun and the watering and the temperature and everything else, you will start with the seeds that are designed to grow optimally, and then you will create the optimum conditions for those to grow. So you're not really leaving anything to chance. And it doesn't even need much input from you. I don't know how I feel about that, because we started growing fruit and vegetables indoors in lockdown to give us something to do and to give us something to nurture and to give us that hope. So if suddenly you take away the need for you to be involved, I don't know, I think that kind of takes away some of the fun of the experience as well. Love to know what you think though. Is it a system that you would sign up to? You know, at what price would it be interesting to you? Or are you going to stick to the kind of, do you enjoy the chance, I suppose, of doing things your own way? Let me know in the comments down below. But that's all for today. It's just really very much an update video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. As always, please do give it a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button as well, so you get a notification when there's a new video. And I hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.